Before Sun Wukong became the legendary Monkey King, he was just a student. A student who spent 7 years sweeping floors, carrying water, and chopping firewood, waiting for his master to teach him. Then one day, 3 taps on the head changed everything. That silent message would lead to the Monkey King's greatest powers. The 72 transformations, the Somersault cloud, and the beginning of the legend that would shake heaven itself. This is Journey to the West. Chapter 2. Fully awoke to Patriarch Subodhi's mystic truth. Defeating the demon, return to the origin and unite the divine spirit. Filled with joy upon receiving his given name, the handsome Monkey King leaped with delight and bowed deeply to Patriarch Subodhi to express his gratitude. The Patriarch then instructed his senior disciples to lead Wukong to walk beyond the inner gates, teaching him to clean the grounds, greet guests properly, follow rules of speech and conduct, and learn the ways of interacting with others. The disciples obeyed and took him away. Outside the main hall, Wukong paid respect to all his senior fellow disciples and settled down in a side corridor chamber. Early the next morning, he followed the disciples to learn polite manners, study sacred scriptures, discuss Taoist principles, practice calligraphy, and burn incense, keeping this routine every single day. In his spare time, he swept floors, weeded gardens, tended flowers and trees, chopped firewood, stoked furnaces, carried water, and delivered supplies, taking on every menial chore without complaint. Unknowingly, 6 or 7 years passed within the cave. One day, the Patriarch ascended his high altar, seated himself, and gathered all disciples to preach the supreme Tao. His sermon was so profound and wondrous, like wondrous celestial flowers scattering all around, and golden lotuses bloomed forth from the ground in imagery. He explained the doctrine of the 3 vehicles in exquisite detail, covering every mystical art and universal truth in full. With a gentle wave of his whisk, his words flowed like scattered pearls and jade, his voice resounding like thunder shaking the 9 heavens. At times, he expounded the subtle mysteries of Daoism, and at others the inner practices of Zen Buddhism, seamlessly integrating Confucianism, Buddhism, and Daoism. He revealed the genuine essence hidden within every phrase and character, guiding his disciples to comprehend the profound secrets of eternal life, spiritual clarity, and inner enlightenment. Sun Wukong listened intently, scratching his ears and cheeks with sheer joy, his face breaking into a wide grin as he could not help dancing and gesturing freely. The Patriarch suddenly noticed his unrestrained behavior and called out to him, "You sit among the assembly, yet why do you dance wildly and ignore my sermon?" Wukong replied respectfully, "Master, I listened with sincere devotion. When I heard your profound and wonderful sermon, my heart overflowed with joy beyond control, and I unconsciously moved in delight. I beg you to forgive my rudeness." The Patriarch said, "If you can understand such mystic truths, answer me this. How many years have you dwelt within this cave?" "I am dull-witted by nature and cannot count the passing years," Wukong answered. "I only know that whenever firewood ran low in the kitchen, I would head behind the mountain to gather timber. There grows a fine peach orchard, and I have eaten my fill of ripe peaches there 7 times. The Patriarch smiled. "That mountain is known as Ripe Peach Mountain. 7 harvests means 7 long years have passed. Now, what kind of Taoist practice do you wish to learn from me?" "Everything shall follow your guidance, Master," Wukong said. "I am willing to learn any practice that cultivates spiritual virtue." The Patriarch said, "The Tao encompasses 360 subsidiary divisions," the Patriarch explained, "and every single division can lead to spiritual perfection. Which branch do you wish to pursue?" Wukong said, "I leave the choice entirely to you, Master. I shall obey your every instruction." The Patriarch said, "Shall I teach you the practice of the method division?" Wukong asked, "What practices belong to this division?" The Patriarch said, "It includes summoning immortals, planchette working, divination, and fortune-telling, arts to foresee good fortune and disaster, and to seek blessings while avoiding calamity. Can this practice lead to eternal life and immortality?" Wukong questioned. The Patriarch said, "It cannot, not in the slightest." Wukong then answered, "Then I shall not learn it. I refuse." The Patriarch continued, "Then how about the practice of the school's division?" Wukong asked, "What truths does this division teach?" The Patriarch said, "This branch covers the doctrines of Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, Yin-Yang philosophy, Moism, and medicine. It also includes knowledge of scripture recitation, prayer to divine sages, and devout worship. Wukong asked, "Can this practice lead to immortality?" The Patriarch said, "To seek immortality through this practice is like fixing a pillar inside a wall." Wukong said, "Master, I am a simple fellow and do not understand such worldly metaphors. What does fixing a pillar in a wall mean?" When people build houses, they set support pillars within the walls for strength, the Patriarch clarified. Yet when the great building crumbles, those hidden pillars will rot and collapse first. Wukong said, "Then it cannot last forever. I will not learn this either." The Patriarch said, "Very well. Shall I teach you the practice of the silence division?" Wukong asked what results can be gained from this practice. The Patriarch said, "This practice focuses on fasting, vital energy preservation, peaceful inaction, Zen meditation, silent contemplation, and vegetarian discipline. It also includes sleeping cultivation, breath regulation, and secluded spiritual retreats." Wukong asked, "Does this lead to immortality?" The Patriarch said, "Just like unbaked clay bricks in a kiln." Wukong laughed. "You speak in riddles again, Master. I truly cannot grasp such sayings. What are unbaked clay bricks in a kiln? Clay bricks shaped in a kiln hold form, yet they lack the tempering of fire and water," the Patriarch said. "When heavy rain pours down, they will soften, crumble, and wash away completely." Wukong said, "Short-lived once more. I decline this practice as well." The Patriarch spoke again. "Then let us try the practice of the action division." Wukong asked, "What cultivation does this practice entail?" The Patriarch said, "This branch focuses on active physical refinement, harmonizing yin and yang, bending the bow and treading the arrow, therapeutic massage to pass breath, alchemical pill refinement, boiling cauldron for medicinal refinement, and practices of taking red lead, making autumn stone, and drinking breast milk, and so forth." Wukong asked, "Can this grant immortality?" The Patriarch said, "Chasing immortality through this practice is like scooping the moon from the water." Wukong said, "Another metaphor, Master. What does it mean to scoop the moon out of water?" "The moon resides high in the sky. The water only holds its empty reflection," the Patriarch explained. "Though you may see it clearly, you can never grasp it. In the end, all efforts end in vain." Wukong answered, "I will not learn this either." Enraged by his repeated refusals, the Patriarch let out a sharp rebuke. He leaped down from his high altar, holding a disciplinary ruler, and pointed angrily at Wukong. "You reckless monkey! You reject every practice I offer. What exactly do you intend to learn?" He stepped forward, struck Wukong's head 3 times, then clasped his hands behind his back, walked into the inner chamber, and shut the central door, leaving all his disciples behind in silence. All the disciples fell into terror, and they all blamed Wukong bitterly. "You insolent monkey! You have shown great disrespect. The Master sought to pass his sacred Taoist art to you, yet you spurned his teachings and dared to contradict him. You have angered him deeply, and no one knows when he will emerge again." All the disciples shunned and resented him, yet Wukong remained unperturbed, wearing a humble smile. The clever monkey had already unraveled the Patriarch's silent riddle, understanding the hidden meaning in his actions, and chose to endure the criticism without argument. The 3 strikes to his head were assigned to meet at the 3rd watch of the night. Clasping his hands behind his back, walking into the inner chamber, and closing the central door was telling him to enter by the back door so that he could receive Taoist practice in secret. That day, Wukong played happily with the other disciples in front of the cave of Slanting Moon and 3 stars, eagerly awaiting nightfall. When dusk came, he lay down to rest alongside the others, closing his eyes in pretense while calming his mind and steadying his breath. With no night watchman to beat the watch or call the hour in the remote mountains, he measured the hours by regulating his breathing. As midnight drew near, he rose quietly, dressed himself, stealthily opened the front gate, and slipped outside to gaze upon the night. The scene was serene. The moonlight is bright, and the clear dew is cold. Each direction stretches far and wide, pure and free of dust. Birds nestled deep in the forests, and mountain springs babbled softly at their source. Fireflies flickered with faint light, and wild geese soared in formation through the clouds. It was precisely the 3rd watch hour, the hour destined for seeking the true Daoism. Following his memory, he journeyed to the back door, which stood half open and unlatched. Wukong rejoiced. The Master truly intends to teach me his sacred Taoism practice in secret, leaving this door unlocked for me. He stepped forward silently, slipped sideways into the chamber, and walked softly until he reached the Patriarch's bed. He saw the Master curled up, sleeping with his back turned, and dared not disturb him, kneeling respectfully beside the bed. Moments later, the Patriarch woke, stretched his limbs, and murmured to himself, "Hard, hard, hard. Taoism is the most profound mystery. Never take the gold elixir as a common thing. True lore is shared only with those with sincere hearts. Otherwise, even speaking till parched and weary shall all be in vain." Wukong answered at once, "Master, your disciple has knelt here waiting for you for a long while." Recognizing his voice, the Patriarch pulled on his robes and sat upright, scolding, "You monkey, why do you sneak into my chamber instead of sleeping in the outer halls?" "Yesterday on the preaching altar, you sent me a silent message," Wukong replied. "You bid me come through the back door at midnight to receive your secret teachings. Therefore, I dared to come before your bed in earnest." Great joy filled the Patriarch's heart, and he thought to himself, "This monkey is truly born of heaven and earth. No ordinary being could unravel my hidden signs. No others linger here, but your humble disciple," Wukong said. "I beg you, Master, in your boundless compassion, to grant me the Taoism of immortality. I shall remember your kindness for all eternity. Fate has brought us together this day, and I am willing to teach you." The Patriarch said, "Since you have seen through my riddle, draw near and listen closely. I shall pass to you the wondrous way of immortality." Wukong kowtowed in gratitude, knelt by the bed, and listened with undivided attention. The Patriarch then recited the sacred oral formula. The true marvelous formula lies in perfect integration of exoteric and esoteric paths. Cherish the cultivation of nature and life, for there is no other way. All depends on essence, energy, and spirit. Guard them steadfastly, let nothing leak away. Let nothing leak away, store within the body. Receive this transmission, and the Taoism within you shall flourish. Remember these oral teachings, they bring great benefit. Banish wicked desires to attain clarity and coolness. Attain clarity and coolness. The nature of the mind is pure as moonlight. Face the elixir platform to enjoy the luminous moon. The moon hides the jade rabbit. The sun hides the crow. Naturally, the tortoise and snake intertwine. Intertwined, nature and life grow steadfast. Even golden lotuses bloom amidst flames. Gather the 5 phases, use them back and forth. When the work is done, you shall become a Buddha or an immortal. The Patriarch revealed the fundamental origin of the great Taoism. Wukong's mind is spiritualized as blessedness came to him. He memorized every word of the formula, bowed deeply to thank his master, and quietly exited through the back door. The eastern sky had begun to pale with dawn, and the western horizon glowed with morning clouds. He returned to the outer chamber, slipped into his original bed, and shook his bedding loudly, pretending to wake. "Dawn has come. Rise quickly, everyone." His fellow disciples still slumbered soundly, completely unaware that Wukong had received the most sacred secret teachings. He continued his daily chores as usual, revealing no trace of his new power, and only practiced breath regulation and spiritual refinement in secret, morning and night. 3 more years passed in the blink of an eye. The Patriarch once again took his preaching seat to expound the Taoism to his disciples, discussing Zen philosophy, outer appearances, and inner spiritual nature. Suddenly, he asked, "Where is Wukong?" Wukong stepped forward and knelt. "Your disciple is here, Master." The Patriarch said, "What Taoism practices have you cultivated throughout these years?" Wukong said, "Your disciple has come to understand spiritual truth in these days, and my foundational root cultivation has grown firm and steady. Now that your nature is enlightened and your roots are strong, you have forged an immortal physique," the Patriarch warned. "Yet you must still guard against the 3 heavenly calamities that bring ruin and harm." Deeply troubled, Wukong pondered for a long time and asked, "Your words confuse me, Master. I have heard that those who master supreme cultivation live as long as heaven and earth, impervious to fire and water, free from all illness and pain. How could such calamities befall them?" "This is no ordinary cultivation," the Patriarch explained. "The practices you have learned seize the creative power of heaven and earth, and steal the hidden mysteries of the sun and moon. Once your immortal elixir is refined, Even gods and ghosts shall resent your power. Though your face shall never fade and your lifespan shall stretch endlessly, 500 years from now, heavenly thunder shall strike you down. You must purify your heart and foresee the danger to escape. Survive this trial, and your life shall match heaven itself. Fail, and you shall perish instantly. Another 500 years later, heavenly fire shall burn you. This is no ordinary fire or celestial fire. It is called the Yin fire. It ignites from the Yongchen acupoint beneath your feet, burning upward to the crown of your head, turning your 5 internal organs to ash and decaying your limbs. Your 1,000 years of spiritual practice shall turn to vanity. Another 500 years later, a deadly wind shall assail you. This is not the wind from the east, west, north, or south, nor is it one of the winds of 4 seasons, nor the gentle winds that stir flowers, pines, and bamboo. The wind is called the mighty wind. It enters from the top of your head into your 6 hollow organs, surges through your midriff, and courses through every orifice of your body, scattering your flesh, bones, and divine essence until your form crumbles apart. You must overcome all 3 calamities to attain true immortality. Chilled to the bone by these words, Wukong kowtowed repeatedly and begged, I implore your mercy, Master. Teach me the ways to evade these 3 calamities. I shall never forget your boundless kindness. It is not difficult to teach these skills, the Patriarch said, yet you are unlike an ordinary person, and thus these skills cannot be shared easily. I stand beneath the sky with a rounded head, my feet planted firmly on the earth, Wukong argued. I possess 9 orifices for limbs and 5 vital organs just as all humans do. In what way am I different? The Patriarch smiled. You bear a human shape, yet you lack human cheek. Indeed, Wukong had a hollow face, pointed mouth, and prominent cheekbones. He touched his face and grinned. You are mistaken, Master. Though I lack full cheeks, I have a pouch to make up for it. Very well. The Patriarch relented. What method of escape would you like to learn? One is the art of the heavenly ladle, the 36 transformations. The other is the art of the earthly multitude, the 72 transformations. I prefer the one with more skills, Wukong replied. So I shall learn the 72 earthly transformations. The Patriarch said, Come closer, then, and I shall pass you the secret formula. Leaning near, the Patriarch whispered the mystic incantations into his ear. Quick-witted and naturally enlightened, the monkey memorized the teachings at once, practiced in private, and mastered all 72 transformations in no time. One evening soon after, the Patriarch and his disciples admired the sunset scenery outside the Cave of the 3 Stars. The Patriarch turned to Wukong. Have you mastered the 72 transformations? Thanks to your great kindness, Master, Wukong answered. I have attained perfection. I can now ride the clouds and soar through the sky. Show me your flight skills. Filled with confidence, Wukong leaped high, somersaulting several times to rise 50 or 60 feet above the ground. He drifted upon mist and clouds for about the time of a single meal, traveling barely 3 miles before landing before the Patriarch. This is my cloud soaring ability, Master. The Patriarch laughed. This cannot be called true cloud flight. It is merely crawling upon mist. An old saying tells us, Immortals tour from the northern sea at dawn and reach Changwu at dusk. To travel a mere 3 miles and half a day is not even considered as mist crawling. What is the meaning of touring from the northern sea at dawn and reaching Changwu at dusk? Wukong asked. Those immortals who are capable of cloud soaring can start from the northern sea in the morning, tour through the eastern, western, and southern seas, and return to Changwu by night, the Patriarch explained. Changwu refers to the Lingling area in the northern sea. It can be called true cloud soaring only when you can tour all 4 seas in one day. That sounds incredibly difficult, Wukong said. The Patriarch said, Nothing in the world is impossible for a determined heart. Kneeling low, Wukong begged earnestly, Master, complete your kindness and grant me the true practice of cloud soaring. I shall forever cherish your favor. All immortals rise by stamping their feet, the Patriarch said. Yet your method is to leap and somersault into the air. I shall tailor a cloud riding art in accordance with your natural form, the somersault cloud. Wukong bowed once more in gratitude, and the Patriarch taught him its secret incantations. To ride this cloud, he instructed, hold the magic sign, recite the true spell, clench your fist, shake your whole body, and leap upward. One single somersault shall carry you 108,000 miles in an instant. Listening nearby, the other disciples laughed and teased. Wukong is blessed beyond measure. With this skill, he could deliver letters and run errands anywhere in the world, earning an easy living wherever he goes. The master and disciples remained together until nightfall before returning to their chambers. That very night, Wukong focused his spirit and practiced tirelessly, mastering the somersault cloud in one evening. From then on, he lived freely and unrestrained, wandering at will, enjoying the boundless joy of immortal longevity. As spring turned to summer, one day, the disciples gathered beneath pine trees to discuss Taoist truths. One disciple said, "What great fortune you possess, Wukong. The master secretly taught you the method of avoiding the 3 calamities. Have you fully mastered them?" Wukong smiled proudly. "Thanks to the master's teachings and my diligent practice day and night, I have mastered all the 72 transformations." "Show us while the weather is fine," they urged. "Let us witness your divine skills." Eager to show off, Wukong roused his spirit and said, "What do you want me to transform, brothers?" "Transform into a pine tree for us to see," the disciples said. Holding the magic sign and reciting his incantations, Wukong shook his body and transformed instantly into a tall, lush pine tree. Its evergreen branches reached toward the clouds, standing tall and graceful, with not the least likeness to the monkey, only strong, resilient boughs that withstood frost and snow. The disciples burst into applause and cheers, their loud commotion echoing through the mountains and disturbing the Patriarch. Staff in hand, he hurried outside and shouted sharply, "Who raises such clamor here?" Falling silent at once, the disciples straightened their robes and stepped forward nervously. Wukong reverted to his original form and blended into the crowd. "Master, we merely discussed Daoism together. No outsiders have caused disturbance." The Patriarch glared in anger. "You shout and revel without restraint, behaving in a manner that is totally different from those practicing cultivation. A cultivator's mouth scatters vital energy with every word. Idle tongues breed conflict and trouble. How dare you laugh and riot in this sacred place?" Dismayed, the disciples confessed, "We cannot hide the truth, Master. Sun Wukong performed transformation arts for our amusement. We bid him turn into a pine tree, and he succeeded. Our careless cheers disturbed your peace, and we beg for your forgiveness. All of you, leave at once," the Patriarch ordered. He then called Wukong forward. "You come here. Why show off your skills and transform into a pine tree? Such ability should never be flaunted before others. If you see someone with this ability, will you beg him to do you a favor? So when others see you possess this ability, they must beg you to do a favor. If you're afraid of causing trouble, you will have to give away the secret. If you don't, certainly they will hurt you, leaving your life in danger." Kowtowing deeply, Wukong pleaded, "I beg you to pardon my foolish mistake, Master. I shall not punish your error," the Patriarch said firmly. "But you must leave this place right now." Tears filled Wukong's eyes. "Where am I to go, Master?" The Patriarch said, "Return to the place that you came from." In an instant, Wukong understood. "I hail from the Water Curtain Cave, Flower Fruit Mountain, in the Ally country of the East Purvavidha continent. Depart quickly, and you shall preserve your life," the Patriarch warned. "If you stay here, troubles will surely befall you." "I have dwelled away from home for 20 years, Wukong said sorrowfully. "Though I miss my monkey kin, I cannot bear to leave without repaying your immense kindness." "Speak not of gratitude," the Patriarch replied coldly. "Do not bring trouble to me, and that shall be repayment enough." Left with no choice, Wukong bid farewell to the Patriarch and took his leave of all senior disciples. The Patriarch issued a stern final warning. "Once you leave this place, you will surely stir up chaos and trouble. No matter what crimes or violence you commit, you must never reveal that I am your master. Speak a single word of my name, and I shall know at once. I shall flay your skin, crush your bones, and banish your soul to the place of ninefold darkness, from which you will not be released even after 10,000 afflictions." "I shall never mention your name," Wukong vowed. "I will say I learned all the skills by myself." With a heavy heart, Wukong bowed his final farewell, turned away, summoned his somersault cloud, and soared straight toward the eastern sea. In less than an hour, he caught sight of Flower Fruit Mountain, Water Curtain Cave. Overjoyed, the handsome Monkey King whispered to himself, "At the time when I got to the cave, My mortal body and bones were heavy. After attaining the Tao, my body and frame are light. Few people in the world strive for sacred cultivation. Yet those who seek the Tao shall understand its mystery. Before, the wind and wave impede my path to go forward. Now, I cross great oceans with effortless ease. My master's final warning lingers in my ears. In an instant, I see my eastern homeland. Wukong lowered his cloud and landed upon Flower Fruit Mountain. As he wandered along the mountain paths, he heard the cries of cranes and the wails of apes. The cranes' calls soared to the heavens, while the monkeys' cries rang with sorrow and grief. He called out loudly at once, "Children, your king has returned." From cliffside ledges, flower thickets, and forest groves, thousands upon thousands of young and old monkeys swarmed forth, surrounding the handsome Monkey King. They knelt and kowtowed, crying out, "Great King, your heart is too lax. Why have you been gone for so long? We waited for you day and night, longing for your return as one starves for food and water. A fierce monster has oppressed us in your absence, seeking to seize our water curtain cave. We fought him with all our strength, yet he plundered our homes and captured countless members of our kin. We have lived in constant fear, guarding our cave day and night. Thank the heavens you have come back. If you had delayed another year, our home would have belonged to the monster entirely." Burning with rage, Wukong roared, "What reckless monster dares to bully my kin? Tell me every detail, and I shall seek revenge at once." The monkeys knelt and replied, "This monster calls himself the Monstrous King of Havoc, and he dwells far to the north. How far is his domain from our mountain? He rides clouds and mist to come and go, accompanied by wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. We don't know the exact distance." "Fear no longer," Wukong comforted them. "Play freely here, and wait for me to settle his score." The mighty Monkey King leaped into the air, mounted his somersault cloud, and flew swiftly northward. Soon, he spotted a towering, perilous mountain. Sharp and erect peaks pierced the celestial clouds. Twisted mountain streams wound deep into the earth's veins. Cliffs bloomed with exotic flowers, and pine and bamboo flourished in vibrant green. Gentle dragons rested to the left, and tigers lay peacefully to the right. Iron oxen tilled the mountain lands, and gold-coined divine herbs grew in abundance. Exotic birds sang clear melodies, and red phoenixes stood facing the sun. Smooth stone cliffs and clear flowing waters filled the land with fierce, majestic power. Countless sacred mountains graced the world, flowers fading and blooming with each passing year, yet none of them matched this land's eternal beauty, unchanging through every season. This is the mountain of northern spring in the three regions, the Waterbelly Cave, nourished by the five phases. As Wukong admired the scenery, he heard voices echoing below and descended to the mountain to investigate. At the foot of the steep cliff stood the Waterbelly Cave. Several goblins danced and loitered outside the cave, fleeing in terror the moment they saw Wukong. "Stop!" Wukong shouted. "Deliver my message to your king. I am the Lord of Water Curtain Cave on southern Flower Fruit Mountain. Your monstrous King of Havoc, or whatever his name, has bullied my people time and again. I have come to challenge him and settle our feud once and for all." Terrified, the goblins rushed into the cave to report, "Great King, trouble has arrived." "What trouble has come?" the monstrous King of Havoc said. "A monkey stands outside the cave," they replied. "He claims to rule Water Curtain Cave, accuses you of persecuting his kin, and seeks a duel to the death." The monstrous king laughed coldly. "I have long heard those monkeys speak of their king, who left to seek immortal cultivation. It seems he has returned. What does he look like? Does he carry weapons?" "He bears no arms at all," the goblins answered. "Bareheaded, clad in a robe with a sash, he is neither a monk nor a Daoist and immortal. He stands alone outside the cave, empty-handed and ready to fight. Bring me my armor and weapon," he ordered. The goblins fetched his gear at once. The monster put on his breastplate and helmet, gripped his scimitar, and brought all the goblins to walk out of the cave. "Who is the Lord of Water Curtain Cave?" Wukong stared at his foe. The monstrous king cut a fearsome figure, a black golden helmet glinting in the sunlight, a dark silk robe billowing in the wind, sturdy black iron armor bound with leather cords, ornate battle boots upon his feet, 30 feet tall with a waist 10 spans wide. He wielded a massive, sharp sword, a ferocious and towering monster known as the Monstrous King of Havoc. "You blind monster!" Wukong roared. Do you not recognize your monkey grandfather? The demon sized him up and sneered. You stand less than 4 feet tall, no more than 30 years of age, and hold no weapon. How dare you speak so arrogantly and challenge me to battle? You worthless brute with no eyes. Wukong retorted. Though I am small, I may grow at will. Without blades or spears, my bare hands can seize the moon from the sky. Do not cower, taste my fist. He leaped high and struck directly at the monster's face. The demon blocked the blow and scoffed. You are tiny, and I am giant. To slay you with my sword would bring shame upon me. I shall lay down my weapon and fight you fist to fist. Well spoken, a true warrior. Wukong cried. Come at me. Casting aside his sword, the monster readied his fists and charged. Agile and nimble, Wukong darted in close to strike, dodging the monster's slow, heavy blows. He struck vital pressure points, jabbing the monster's ribs and striking his lower body, landing heavy blows one after another. Enraged and humiliated, the demon snatched up his giant steel sword and swung it downward in a deadly strike. Dodging the lethal slash, Wukong saw the monster's ferocity, and he unleashed his method called the body beyond the body. He plucked a handful of body hairs, chewed them into pieces, and spat them into the air, shouting, Transform. Instantly, 200 or 300 small monkeys materialized, surrounding the monster in a tight circle. After Wukong attaining immortal status, every single one of Wukong's 84,000 body hairs could transform at his will. Swift and nimble, the tiny monkeys evaded every blade strike and spear thrust, swarming the monster relentlessly. They clung to his limbs, tugged at his clothes, slipped between his legs, tripped his feet, scratched, bit, and clawed at his eyes and nose, trapping the powerful monster and leaving him unable to move. Seizing the moment, Wukong snatched the giant sword, pushed his little monkeys aside, and struck the monster's crown with a single fatal slash, splitting his body in two. Leading his tiny monkey army, he charged into the cave and slaughtered every goblin. Then he shook his body to recall all his transformed hairs back into his flesh. He spotted several familiar monkey captives left behind, the monkeys that were stolen from Water Curtain Cave. Why have you been trapped here? Wukong asked. 30 to 50 captive monkeys wept and answered. Since you left to cultivate immortality, this monster has raided our home for 2 years, capturing us and stealing all our cave treasures, our stone basins and bowls. All that belongs to us shall be reclaimed, Wukong declared. He ordered the monkeys to carry their stolen belongings outside, then set the water-belly cave ablaze, burning the monster's lair to ashes. Follow me home, he told his kin. We heard only rushing wind as we were brought here, the monkeys said. We don't know the path and cannot find our way home. This is merely a trivial demon magic, Wukong said. Now I know one thing completely once I understand the smallest bit about it. I have mastered all these tricks and magics too. Close your eyes and fear nothing. The mighty Monkey King chanted his incantations, summoned a great gust of wind. In a moment, he lowered his cloud. Children, you may open your eyes now. The monkeys landed safely on familiar ground, overjoyed to see their homeland once more. They raced toward Water Curtain Cave, where the remaining resident monkeys rushed out to welcome their king. They lined up by age and bowed in celebration. Feasts of fruit and wine were prepared to honor Wukong's return, and the monkeys begged him to tell the tale of defeating the monster and rescuing their kin. Wukong recounted every detail, leaving his followers in awe. What sacred powers you have gained in your distant travels, great king. Wukong told them his journey. When I left you, I sailed across the great oceans and first reached the South Jambudvipa continent. I learned human ways, wearing human clothes and shoes, wandering for 8 or 9 years, yet finding no true Tao. I crossed the Western Ocean to the west of Paragodania continent, and after long searching, I met an ancient patriarch who granted me the true arts of eternal life and immortal cultivation. The monkeys cheered and congratulated him. Such blessedness is hard to meet, even after 10,000 afflictions. Wukong smiled warmly. I have another joy to share. I now have a surname. What name do you hold, great king? My family name is Sun, and my Dharma name is Wukong. Delighted, the monkeys clapped and laughed. Our king is Elder Sun. Then we shall be Senior Sun, Junior Sun, Little Sun, Tiny Sun, the family of Sun, the kingdom of Sun, a whole den of Sun. They flocked to honor their king, filling stone bowls and plates with coconut wine, grape wine, divine flowers, and divine fruits, celebrating in perfect harmony and joy. As the verse foretells, the surname connects his family. He returns to his source, awaiting ascension to get an immortal name in heaven. And so, the student became a master of impossible powers. But this was only the beginning of Sun Wukong's legend. If you enjoyed the journey, stay with us, because the real legend is only just beginning.